Well, our initial plan was to go into 6 schools. The schools would identify someone with an attachment difficulty. We would then support them over a period of time and then evaluate that. However, it unfortunately didn't work because in order for schools to identify someone with an attachment disorder or difficulty and ask for help, they have to know what it is. So what we found was it was a struggle to find those children in that way. So instead of working like that, what we did is we went into a range of schools doing challenging behaviour training, and then also supported the schools to understand what attachment was. And through that, we then put in some attachment related support and strategies. So by observing individual children that the schools thought had challenging behaviour, what we identified was children with attachment difficulties. Then we worked with the schools to put in an action plan and strategies that would support those children so that they would make more progress and would support the schools to enable them to develop what they were doing with the children. And then after 6 weeks we went back and evaluated the progress that the children had made through that, which on the whole was very positive. However, what we did realise is that, you know, it's an increasing and ongoing job to make sure that all members of staff who work in schools understand how attachment works and therefore are enabled to put the strategies in place that supports those children.
The activities that we did as part of the attachment research project were initially we disseminated the training that we had had to all staff members as part of the inset day, so that it was a consistent approach. Then with the individual child, we adopted the emotion coaching approach, so we were labelling and validating his feelings. We were setting limits on his behaviour, and then we were problem solving with the child. We also created a safe space in school, so we transformed a particular room that we had and made it a really soft, nurturing space. So we had like a wigwam, cushions, puppets, toys, feelings, books, loads of things in there that would support his emotional development. And it was used as an area where we could withdraw him if he needed to co-regulate with a significant adult. And it was also used as a place where we would deliver bespoke emotion coaching sessions. We also use social stories. So nearing the end of this research project, the child actually had a house and school move. So as a result, we used a social story to support him with those issues, and also created a book which we used as a transitional object entitled All About Me, and that was made in collaboration with the child. As something that he could then go and share with staff in his new setting. We also used visual cues, so we used smiley faces that we would show him, and he also had his own set, so he could come and show us if that was how he was feeling. And we used it as a way of reinforcing positive behaviour. We also, as well as disseminating the training to staff, we also spoke to the child's carers about the emotion coaching approach so that we could have a consistent approach between school and home, and that was something they were really grateful for. So we implemented a homeschool communication book so that we could record instances where we'd used the approach, and that was used as part of our data collection, but it also was used to record changes at school or at home.
So when our new leadership team came into school, they implemented a learning mentor, which was me, and I had a room, and we were set with the task of looking at all of these children who were struggling and what interventions were we going to put in place for them, how we were going to monitor their behaviours, the time that was spent in class and their progress. And as we were thinking about doing that, this attachment awareness project came up, and we thought this is the perfect opportunity to put together a case file of pupils and look really, really closely at how supporting relationships can support their learning and accelerate that.
So we looked at attachment friendly practice, and then we introduced emotion coaching as something new. And we went through the stages of emotion coaching, and we went through how to do emotion coaching and explained it's not an intervention. It's not something that happens once a week in a particular room with a particular adult, which I think could have been the perception of staff, that it could have been seen as an intervention. We wanted staff to realise that it wasn't, that it was actually part of our practice. In order to make it part of our practice and not just pay lip service to it, we did provide a timetabled session a week, and we strongly encouraged staff to, once a week, to take children out of their comfort zone and to plan in a session whereby children were given activities that were going to be challenging. And the reason for that is it would give us opportunities to notice when children were feeling frustrated, notice when children were feeling jealous, notice when children were feeling angry. And then emotion coaching works on labelling those emotions and not in a confrontational way. So it's not saying to a child, oh, you're feeling jealous. It's saying to a child, you're feeling jealous right now, and that's okay. I can understand you feeling jealous because this table have got all the equipment that they need to complete this task and your table haven't. But then saying to children, how are we going to manage that you're feeling jealous? So it's labelling that emotion, helping them to understand it. And then it's also identifying when things go wrong and saying, okay, I can see that you're feeling jealous, but actually when you're feeling jealous, it's not okay to shout at the other table. You've got to find another way of doing that. So you're putting limits on the behaviour that's coming in, but in a non-confrontational. You're not telling a child that having that emotion is wrong. You're saying, I get that emotion. I get exactly that you're feeling that way, and actually I empathise with you. I understand that you feel that way. I can see this situation is making you jealous. Then you work on problem solving with the child. Say, what could we do so that next time you do that, how could you resolve that situation and deal with that jealousy, and actually, ultimately achieve what you want to achieve, get that task completed without resorting to shouting or storming over and stealing something from the other table.
Well, the first thing we started with was staff training. We realised before we implement anything into school, staff body had to have a full understanding of attachment, why children may react in certain ways, and what we can do to support them and let them be able to identify their own emotions and understand situations themselves. So all staff were trained, from head teachers, deputies, class teachers, dinner ladies, site maintenance officer. Everyone was trained, so then we were all doing a whole school approach. Everyone's seeing from the same sing sheet, and we could deliver it as a whole school approach there. Then we moved on to creating classrooms to be a calming environment. Every classroom was given a tent, so children, if they felt they needed time out, or if they had felt emotions were becoming to take over, it was time for the tent. As adults, we know we need time out, so why wouldn't we do that for children? We had also cool down boxes, we called them. So every class had a cool down box, and it may have sensory items in there. It may have been some puzzles. It may have been little sand timers, just something to help the children calm themselves down. And then once they're in that time ready, then they can come and speak to an adult to talk things through.